Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am really good. I'm so glad you came on here with us today. I was just trying to remember where you live.
I'm in
I was-
Scotland, in the
You're in
north of
Scotland.
Scotland.
That's what
Yeah,
I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't 100% sure.
yeah.
But like I was saying earlier, Lynn is a single mom of five kids. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine. And actually, Lynn is a medical doctor. She was a medical doctor for 13 years, and she left the medical profession in 2012, I think you
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
Yeah, in 2012 due to burnout and stress. So I
Right.
think that's probably the story of a lot of people. And I'm just excited to have you on here because when I heard how you worded what Phix does in the body from a medical perspective, it was fascinating to me. And I don't get fascinated very often, but when I listened to that video that you sent me, I was like, wow, this is really, really good. And I think people need to hear this because people have this idea. I called Fix Your Health, this group called Fix Your Health
Mm,
for a reason. I didn't say lose fat. I didn't say burn
yeah.
fat. I said fix your health because that's what's really important here is your health. And yes, the fat will go with that. But there's so much more to it here. So I'm going to give it away to you, Lynn. Thank you so much for coming into our group to share this all the way from Scotland. It's late at night for you, taking your time to jump on here. But can you explain to our group here? I think there's got to be over 6,000 people in this group now. I think there's more than
Mm-hmm.
6,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
We've only been a group for 3 months. We've grown it to 6,000 people, which is crazy. So
That's
people are really
amazing.
looking for something. And explain from your perspective, what does Fix do in the body?
In the body, what it does is first of all, as everyone here knows, it tastes like water. So it's really easy to sneak into any kind of drink, isn't it? And
Yeah,
we want it to do we want it to go down through past the stomach into the small bowel and the large intestine because it's needed down there to do its job. So we don't just put it in our mouth and then drink a drink or something like that. It's important to put in a drink and drink that drink. But the reason why is we've got T2R receptors. We've actually got these. They detect the taste that is bitter. And so even though this product doesn't taste bitter, it triggers those bitter taste receptors, which is kind of weird to explain, but it's just what it
yeah.
is. And so we've got those receptors actually in a lot of parts of our body. We've got them in our lungs, in our nasal cavity and sinuses, and on our tongue, in our stomach, small bowel and large bowel. And I think the reason why we have them in the first place is because they detect something bad is going on, right? So in the lungs, for example, if we were to breathe in particular respiratory viruses, the bitter taste receptors get triggered. And that's what causes us to then do coughing and clearing out, things. But in the small bowel, when we trigger those taste receptors, that they're attached to the tiny little branches of the vagal nerve or the vagus nerve, which is the cranial nerve number 10 out of them. It comes from actually the brain stem. It's not from the spinal cord, it's part of our cranial nerves. And this nerve in particular is part of what we call the parasympathetic nervous system. It's a major part of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is involved in rest and digest mode or repairing the body. So this nerve it's got branches in everywhere, like loads of different places, attached to these bitter taste receptors. And when they're triggered, a message gets sent to the brain, which is received as we're being poisoned, even though we're not actually being poisoned by our product. It's just indicating that a poisoning effect is happening. And then the brain sends a message back down the vagus nerve to all of our digestive organs, our heart and lungs, kidneys, to put us into repair mode, which is really interesting because a normal kind of threat to a human would be things like having to rescue your child from running out in front of a car, or being attacked by someone, or a lion about to attack you, running away from danger, or standing up and fighting, or sudden things which need a lot of adrenaline and suddenly a lot of energy to like run or fight, right? Or put us into freeze and fawn mode. And all of that is governed by the sympathetic part of the autonomic nervous system, the fight and flight, freeze and fawn mode. Um, which in our modern day life we spend far too much time
Yeah.
in. And that's the most vital, important bit that people should know about, is that it's not natural to spend so much time in that state of, anything could happen. My roof could fall in. I might not be able to pay the mortgage next month, or my car is broken down. I'm stressed
Yeah.
about that, or all the things in modern life that we stress about that we're not actually handling in a physiologically proper manner. So when we are in the sympathetic drive for too much of the time, it starts to break down our tissues. Like, for example, collagen structures in the face will get literally eaten up. And that's because we've got a raised cortisol level chronically. And the reason why is the body is then not looking to be like gorgeous on the outside and like the stunning best. And, it's not really preparing us for, settling down, having lots of babies and being fit and healthy and looking after babies and being in nurturing mode. It's like, we might need to run away from a lion or a tiger or a bear. We need to divert all our resources and put the blood flow to our muscles so that we can run fast.
Right.
Cortisol as well being raised, actually, another of the effects of that is it will lead us to hold on to weight, especially around our middle, because it's almost like, well, if we're under threat, we might be in starvation mode at any point. So we need to hold on and hoard all of our calories in the form of fat as much as we possibly can. So we go into fat storage mode when we're in the sympathetic drive too much of the time. So one of the ways that we benefit when we go into the parasympathetic drive, and the product actually helps us do that for 9.5 hours. And yes, you can say for people needing to lose body fat, that's great for fat burning. But for people who don't have weight to lose, I'm always saying to them, don't be put off by the number of testimonies about people losing fat, because for thin people, most thin people do have visceral fat inside their abdomen anyway that they need to get rid of, unless they are an Olympic sprinter, in which case they probably don't have an awful lot of visceral fat inside there, but that's not many people in the
Yeah.
world. And then um, most people do have the effects of chronic stress over time leading to health problems. So most people benefit from health improvements on the product, and the body very intelligently fixes the most important things that need fixed first. The most life-threatening things will start to be worked on first. So I just love how that works.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you brought that up, because I think a lot of people get discouraged when they see some of the weight loss stories in
Mhm.
here and
Mhm.
they don't have that story. And
Yes.
the reason I'm bringing professionals on to explain Phix is so that people get different perspectives of what is actually happening in the body, and that you should actually be grateful that Phix is fixing something in your body that is more dangerous than your fat right now,
Yes.
right?
You've always got the fat to burn later, as long as we're fixing other things in the
Yeah,
meantime. Correct.
yeah,
And it may be that we need to sort out our hormone imbalances, sort out neuropeptides and other, peptides and things like that before the fat burning really starts to kick in. We've maybe got, thyroid issues, or maybe we have high blood pressure or high glucose, and all of these things need to be fixed more urgently or in preparation for better fat burning later down the line. So yeah,
yeah,
and inflammation is another thing. Because our product works so well to reduce inflammation, some people get immediate weight loss that's quite dramatic straight away just because they're losing inflammation with the fluid that's associated with that, puffy
yeah,
fingers and all of these things.
yeah,
So
totally.
everyone's different, everyone's unique.
Yeah. So what would you say to people that say, well, I haven't lost weight, or maybe I feel bloated, or I maybe have gained a couple pounds,
Yeah.
or what would be your explanation for that?
Okay, I think the way I would explain that is particularly when we're talking about getting rid of the visceral fat, which contains quite a few toxins in it. And the reason why it has toxins in it is because that's the safest place for the body to put toxins in when it can't get rid of the toxins, like through via the liver, the kidneys, the usual routes. It's got to really put them somewhere safer than just having them in the organs, right? Like better to have them in a storage place which is visceral fat than having them in the kidney or the liver or somewhere else or the heart.
Yeah.
So when we start burning that visceral fat, toxins are going to be released into the bloodstream, into the extracellular fluid. And because it's not ideal that they're there just now, we tend to be thirsty. I don't know if you're thirstier when you're drinking Phix.
Yeah,
I am.
I am.
Which is good because just drink enough to quench your thirst is what I say, because your body knows what it
Yeah.
needs. So we might gain a bit of fluid retention when we're diluting the toxins, while the liver and the kidney are then, well, they are going to be working better and more effectively at getting rid of toxins, but there could be a sort of an imbalance, first of all, while everything's being sorted out. So I think it's probably more likely to be excess fluid, a bit more like maybe a bit more of engorgement, which is a really great medical word, of because when we stimulate the blood supply to the vital organs for digestion in particular, that's a lot more blood going to the gut to fix it, going to the liver and the kidneys to actually make more things happen. So we might feel a little bit more distension to start with, or engorgement, or like a little bit more bloating to start with, but that should resolve quite quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. What can you share your story on Fix?
Yeah, so I wasn't really looking to be losing weight on Fix particularly. However, I thought I do have a little bit of a tummy from having had 5 children, a cesarean section for the last one, and I go to the gym 3 times a week to do weightlifting, and I've done that for a few years now. And I already eat an extremely low carb diet, so I didn't really have a lot more lifestyle changes I could really factor in to make a big difference to me. Um, so I was like, well, I've got a little bit of a tummy on me because I can see that in all the mirrors at the gym anyway. So when I started on Fix, I was really just thinking, I didn't actually know what it was going to do, to be honest, to me personally, but I thought I'll just have it, see what happens. And I was really surprised that initially for me, in the first 2 weeks, I lost 4 pounds. And I was like, that's amazing, because I didn't really have. I was already in my normal ideal weight range. Um, and it was all like measurements. It was coming from the tummy area, the waist. So I was like, that's really good. I must be losing visceral fat or something like that's going on. I would say probably also some like upper, the lovely fat that you get that hangs over your bra straps.
Yeah.
That the back fat strap, back strap fat. A little bit of that must have been going. I was like, oh, this is really, really good. And I'd have to say my sleep was improving really fast, like much deeper sleep, wild dreams, still getting them, loving that.
Yeah.
And gradually over, see, I've been on it since early November. So November, December, what, 10 weeks or 11 weeks now or something. And I'd say my skin, oh my goodness, my skin of my face, like I had quite bad eye bags, and they're definitely diminished by quite a lot. I'm so happy about that because they've been there for a long time. And my skin much clearer than it's ever been in a very, very long time. And I'm someone who's been prone to adult acne for most of my life, which is quite upsetting, because when you're starting to get wrinkles as well and you still got like acne, you're like,
Yes.
best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
And
Totally.
so that's going. I'm so happy about that. And ADHD is my other thing. I would say that my brain is functioning in such a better way now. It's less
Mm,
procrastination, less trying to distract myself with anything other than the thing that I'm meant to be doing,
yeah.
much less negative self-talk. Like there's none. I don't even
Wow.
think that way anymore. And I think uh, organization skills definitely improved and confidence. Just that I can do this, you know, like I never
Yeah.
would have thought that um well, it was in the end of October when Leanne, my sponsor, told me about the
Yeah.
product, and I was just, I'm always open to hearing about new things that I've never heard about before.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad she told me. That's first off, I want to say if anyone's holding back from telling people, don't make up their mind for them, just tell them.
Totally.
You
Right? Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I'm so grateful she told me because this has given me such good health benefits, and I didn't even expect any,
Yeah.
and a purpose and a passion that I never had before she told me about it for something now. And I was really like hoping that something would come along and land in my lap, and here it is. And getting to speak to people like yourself and meeting so many wonderful people. I
Yeah.
mean, I've done network marketing for what, 9.5 years now. Um, and I've never been in a company like this with a team so supportive, such good energy. I'm all about the energy, like from the top to the bottom or anywhere in between, sidelines, whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody's been
Yes.
amazing. And it's just a delight and a pleasure to tell other people about it, knowing that they're coming into a supportive environment and they'll just absolutely make friends and love it, and the product should benefit them.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had an experience like that in network marketing before, and I've done it for a long time.
That's awesome. I love that. I would have to agree. It's a very unique place to be,
Yeah,
but I think it really comes down to we have a product that is any doctor that I talked to so far, they related to like it's like the holy grail. Would you say that it's like the holy grail of
100%.
products?
I'd say it's the most exciting product I've ever come across that's natural. And I've come across some really, really good products. Really
Yeah.
good products. This one is hands down my favorite.
Yeah.
And I've only just started seeing the amount of testimonies. We've only just started seeing them because
I
if it's
agree.
only been out since the middle of June, we've got a lot of people that have got even more benefit to come
Yes.
that have only been on it for a very short time, and so
Yeah.
many more people to come.
We've heard that
I'm
the longer
seeing
it's in the body, the better it works.
I
So
believe this.
yes.
I believe that because it can only build on the health that's already building.
Yeah.
So that for me, for example, I would always say to someone if they're expecting skin benefits, in the past, when I was prescribing anything for the skin, I would say you need to give it at least 12 weeks to see a difference in the skin, right? And to be perfectly honest, I don't think there's going to be a maximum benefit at 12 weeks for my skin. I can still see really good changes now. I think it's, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think I'm quite Benjamin Button yet, but I'm so happy that I'm like, my eye bags are sorting out. And I can think, well, I'm going to stay on this longer because this could get even better, you know? And
Yeah.
certainly for 52 years old, you know,
We're the same
and
age. I'm 52 as well.
there you go.
Yeah.
And it's a great
It
age to be, isn't
is
it?
a
Now
great
I'm
age to
like,
be.
you
I
know,
feel like I'm
people are,
aging backwards. I literally feel like I'm aging
yes,
backwards.
yes, me too. I
Yeah.
feel I'm singing, I'm dancing around my kitchen. I am so happy. My car broke down just over like maybe about 10 days ago. And I would normally be catastrophizing, Nikki. I'd normally be like, oh my God, why does this always happen to me? This is terrible. It's going to cost a fortune. Da, 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 da. You know, all the catastrophizing. I was just like, I'm so glad that it broke down once I got home and I'm sat in my driveway. I'll go to bed, have a nice sleep, and tomorrow I will start worrying about what to do about my car.
That's
Unheard
awesome.
of for me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've actually, do you know what? My cousin started on the product and she's told me the exact same thing,
Yeah.
that she normally catastrophizes. She also had an experience that her car broke down recently and she was needing to go to the airport the next day. She said normally she'd be crying, really wildly upset and like, oh, this is terrible. What am I going to do? And she just thought to herself, oh, well, William, her man, William's just going to have to drop me off at the airport before he goes to work in the morning. I'll be there an hour earlier, but it'll be fine. I'll just hang around and I'll worry about the trip home when that happens.
Yeah.
She's like, well, I never behave like this.
I love it.
It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
For
When
that
our nervous
alone, I'm
system
glad
is
I
calm,
joined.
when our nervous system has
Yes.
calmed down, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've experienced some
Yes.
calming of my nervous system too, just responding and reacting very differently than I normally would.
Like, just like, I'll get through this.
Yeah.
It's like, it's amazing. Like for brain health, gut health, and immune system health. And all of these things are very closely linked together in the body as we're learning more and more about how our body works. Oh my goodness. I can imagine it's going to be good to give this to anyone who's neurodivergent,
Yeah.
anybody,
Yeah.
anyone who's got any cognitive impairment. We've already seen some dementia testimonies. Anyone who's low in mood, anxious, like you say, please do people a favor and share it, because I can't even believe this. I couldn't have had this kind of effect if I was prescribing things for these conditions. I've never seen anything like that, and that blows my mind. I'm like, everybody needs to hear about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
normally, if you've got like normally someone who's anxious in the medical field, right?
Yeah.
What have you got? Okay, I used to prescribe homeopathy, and homeopathy is good for anxiety for different occasions. But most medical doctors don't have anything other than things like Valium or diazepam.
Yeah.
And that dulls you down.
Yeah.
You can't drive if you've had diazepam.
Yeah.
You could have Phix, which is making you feel less anxious, and you can go and drive.
Yeah.
You know, you can go about your day even better than you used to. It's not going to be addictive or anything like that. Plus, it's got all of the other health benefits too.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
we know when we stimulate the vagal nerve that it increases dopamine levels and it increases serotonin levels in the brain.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
Who doesn't
naturally
want that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this has been really good information. I'm so glad. Thank you for coming on and explaining it in a different way
That's all right.
than we've heard it before. And is there anything you want to say to anybody as we close here?
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of not making this really long, we could talk about way more than just what we've talked about, but we can always do this another time. We can talk about more of the fat burning side of it, or more of, other chronic disease things that might be testimonies that we've seen or whatever. But I would say it pretty much is helping everything that you could think of. I think most people should benefit from this product. Everybody's different. Everybody's different, and obviously we're always going to have exceptions to the rule, but I think it's very worth most people trying.
Yeah. Is there anybody you could think of that shouldn't try it?
The only person I have found so far who couldn't tolerate it, and I've asked that person to go to see a medical doctor because I think they need to see a cardiologist, and they're going to do that, is a gentleman who was getting heart pain, chest pain from his heart whenever he had Phix, and he even tried taking it at 1 drop and it still did this. And I'm going to explain why this was an issue for him, okay? Because this is not going to be very common at all.
Yeah.
So in the heart, you've got the blood flowing through it that's going to circulate to the rest of the body. That's the heart, the pump mechanism, right? But you've also got, the heart has its own blood supply. So it's got vessels that are called coronary arteries that are supplying the actual muscle of the heart itself with its blood supply. And there's a rare condition that you get where one area of the heart has an increased need for blood supply to go to it, and chronically or over time, a blood vessel, one of the arteries will be maximally dilated to get as much blood flow to that bit of the heart as possible, right? So the other arteries in comparison are narrower slightly, okay? And that's because the heart is already struggling and compensating. So when he took his Phix, this is what I think happened to him. All of the blood vessels then suddenly were dilating because it stimulates blood flow to all the vital organs, right? Which meant that it took away from some of the blood going to that other bit of the heart that was really needing a big supply. That's a special thing called coronary steal, STEAL. So it's stealing the blood flow from one part because it's putting the blood to the other areas of the heart. So that in itself wouldn't have been a very dangerous situation. However, it felt sore, right?
Right.
Right?
It's
So it put him off taking it, and I'm not surprised. And I said to his wife, I think he should go and see a cardiologist. And I think you need to say to the cardiologist that this product works so well to improve blood supply to the heart that
I was
it's
just going
having
to say,
this
he's
effect.
an example of how well,
How
how
well
quickly,
it
and how
works.
little that you needed. He
Yes.
needed it.
Yes, because he went down to one drop and it was still causing that. One
Wow.
drop. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that's,
um I'm really looking forward to seeing what the cardiologist says. And the reason why I knew about that was because I had heard about it at medical school. I've never seen a case of that since then. So
yeah,
it's very
very
rare. It is
rare.
rare, but it can happen. And in these patients, it's very difficult because they can't take, do you know, for angina, you normally take a GTN spray, which opens up all the blood vessels, right? To relieve the pain. But in those patients, it doesn't because of coronary steal. So they can't even take a GTN spray.
Right.
So I'm not even quite sure how the cardiologist deals with that situation.
Yeah.
But I've said he needs to go to one. So
Yeah.
we have to be careful because it works so well. So you might end up with some really strange situations because it is making physiological changes.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably really unlucky for that guy and a very rare exception
Right.
too. And he wanted to take it. He
Yeah.
tried his best.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like 99.9999% of people
Yes.
can take this.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I'd say it's worth a try. And even in his case, it wasn't doing him any harm. It was just that for him, it felt
Yeah.
painful. And I was just like racking my brain. I was like, what? This is crazy. And I was like, I was like, well, it must be working really well, right?
Yeah.
If it's having such an effect.
Yeah.
So that is it's the stimulation of the increased blood supply to the vital organs that we need for them to work better, for rest and digest, for building up structures,
Yeah.
for repairing everything. So that's quite powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for coming on, but we're probably going to have to come back and do another
Yeah,
one so that it doesn't
yeah,
get too long, but we'll
yeah,
talk more about the fat loss next time
yeah.
or
Yes, we can do
whatever.
that
Whatever
specifically
we
on
want to
its
talk
own.
about because there's so much
Yeah,
that this does. Yeah.
absolutely. I'd love
Okay.
to. Thank you very
Well,
much.
thanks for coming on and anybody that you need to tag somebody on here to hear this, tag them on here so they can understand this a little bit more. And you have a fantastic rest. Oh, it's going into night for you, so you have a
It
fantastic
is.
sleep.